Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to week number 3 of our Words Have Impact series on behalf of Yeshiva Torah Chaim, Torah Semes in Miami. I want to welcome all of you and thank you so much all for joining us again. My name is Rabbi Yaakov Moskowitz, and it has just been an amazing journey. Like the last 2 weeks, starting with week 1, we had Rabbi Shapiro addressing us, telling us about the impact of our words, both in the positive and in the negative. And then last week, we got to hear from Rabbi Mansour. It was so amazing. He spoke about the koach hadibur, the power of our speech and spirituality, where it all fits in. It's really amazing. And that brings us to week 3 in this initiative where we're trying to be mischazek, as we said. We're trying to grow in this area of shmiras halashon, especially with everything going on in the world, the pandemic, and all that's related to it. And we're just so honored that we have Mr. Michael Rothschild here with us tonight, the director of the Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation. And, Mr. Rothschild, as people may realize, has a very busy schedule. But Baruch Hashem, he was able to take out some time to be mischazek us, to help us grow, to share some insights, especially into what goes on in the Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation, the Shmiras Halashon, and how we could grow from that. So really, welcome, Mr. Rothschild. We thank you so much for joining us, for taking out the time.
Okay, thank you so much. I am so honored to be here because it's so fantastic that a group of people are getting together to work on Shmiras Halashon in general and for the pandemic, and just the fact that you're all getting together and you took the initiative and you're making it happen is really, really special. That's number one. So thank you for inviting me, because the schus is all mine to be a part of such a thing. I'll tell you an interesting thing that the Chofetz Chaim said. The Chofetz Chaim said that when a group of people get together to work on a mitzvah, any mitzvah, not Shmiras Halashon, any mitzvah, so every person has a certain amount of siyata d'shmaya they're going to get to be able to do that mitzvah, a certain amount of heavenly assistance. But when you do a mitzvah with a group of people, let's say, for instance, I don't know how many people are participating in this program, but let's say 50 people are participating in this program, right? Hopefully it's more, but let's say it's 50 people. The Chofetz Chaim says that every one of the 50 people gets the siyata d'shmaya of all 50 people combined. Wow. So it means that if yesterday you decided you wanted to work on Shmiras Halashon by yourself and you found a very worthy opponent in the Yetzer Hara, and maybe you didn't do so well, right? And maybe he took you for a ride. But when you joined this program of Torah's Chaim, you joined, it automatically gave you the power of 50 people. You're 50 times stronger. What is that? 5,000%, I think, right? My math isn't so good.
We got to check with the math teachers in the school. We'll report back.
You're just by participating in this program, you're 5,000 times more powerful. No, not 5. You're 50 times more powerful, 5,000%, 50 times more powerful than you were yesterday. So for that alone, it's incredible. So I'm very honored to be here. And also, by the way, it just so happens to be that to speak in, Rabbi Shapiro and Rabbi Mansour are amazing speakers. Rabbi Shapiro, unbeknownst to many, is actually an employee of the Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation. We kind of try to keep it secret because we don't want his shul to be too upset. But actually, Rabbi Shapiro has been with us leiv and nefesh for maybe 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he speaks for us every day. He does his shiurim, and he's come with us on our trips to Europe, and he's spoken for Tisha B'Av. He's basically an employee without getting paid. It's the best possible thing you could get. Somebody who works leiv and nefesh, you don't have to pay him. So that's Rabbi Shapiro. So just to be in his Daled Amos is incredible. Okay.
Wow. Well, that is really amazing, and thank you for that idea with the Chofetz Chaim, because Mr. Rothschild, so many people have reported back that they've been involved in this initiative the last 2 weeks. Baruch Hashem, well over 1,000 people were tuning in for the for the
Oh
sheer
my
last
God.
week and the week before. Yeah, well over 1,000 people are participating in this initiative, and it's growing, and it's really, really incredible.
And then that's 100,000%, right? That's an
You're
easy
probably
one.
right. I'm going to check with the math teachers because I don't know.
Okay, 100,000%. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, good.
But amazing. So, Mr. Rothschild, we were just, when thinking about the Chavetz Chaim Heritage Foundation, and, an organization that is like totally about Shmiras Halashon. That's what it's all about spreading that message. And, I guess we're kind of curious, like, why do you feel, as the director and the founder, why do you feel that it was so important to, to start this organization, to start spreading the word about Shmiras Halashon?
Thank you. So when people think about Shmiras Halashon, I would probably say the average person would say there's 613 mitzvahs. Shmiras Halashon is one of them. Definitely it's important, that's for sure. But like, why are we getting so bent out of shape that we have to have like a whole organization for it?
Right.
So I'm going to tell you something that is really amazing. Shmiras Halashon is, believe it or not, the foundation for success as a Jew. Like, that's how the playing field that we work on. In other words, what I'm going to show you from the Chavetz Chaim is that everything that you do as a Jew is related in one way or another to your koyach hadibur, to your power of speech. And the Chavetz Chaim teaches that if your power of speech is in the right place, and you use this power to speak like Hashem wants you to speak, so then everything you do is going to be successful as a Jew. But unfortunately, if your power of speech is not connected to Hashem, and it's connected and it's being used in negative ways, believe it or not, it pulverizes your ability to operate as a Jew. So when you think about the mitzvah of Shmiras Halashon, it's not one mitzvah. I'm going to walk you through. It's basically your whole Yiddishkeit. That's pretty shocking. Most people would not think of it would not give it that amount of importance. But let me explain to you what the Chavetz Chaim teaches. We know that what's the most important mitzvah in the Torah? Learning Torah. Right? That's the most important mitzvah.
Sure.
But the Chavetz Chaim says that since learning Torah is connected to your power of speech, the Chavetz Chaim says a shocking thing, that if you don't work on your Shmiras Halashon, the Torah that you've learned is like, it basically is ineffective. So like, let's just, if you took all of your output right now, any one of the 1,000 people that called in, if you would, let's say any man of the 1,000 people who called in, let's break it up into 4 quadrants of their spiritual output. There's mitzvahs, but there's Torah learning, right? There's tefillah, there's davening. There's mitzvahs ben adam l'makom, tefillin, mezuzah, lulav and esrog, Shabbos, and then there's mitzvahs ben adam l'chaveroi, which is how to treat people, right? If those are the 4 quadrants. So the Chavetz Chaim says the Torah, if you're not in the program with Shmiras Halashon, your Torah doesn't work. And really, it's pretty simple to understand why. Because what's the whole reason that Hashem gave us the Torah? To make us better people, right? So it wasn't so that we would become intellectual giants. It's so that we would become spiritual giants. So if while we're speaking with one side of our mouth, we're speaking about like one of the most esoteric and deep parts of the Torah, and with the other side of the mouth, we're completely speaking in a way that's totally incongruent with what Hashem wants. So it's simple. Obviously, Hashem doesn't want us to become intellectual geniuses, right? So like the Chavetz Chaim says is that the Torah that a person learns is pretty worthless, believe it or not. He uses that language. Tefillah, prayer, no brainer. I come to Hashem and I say, Hashem, I have my daughter, she needs a shidduch. Please, Hashem, please, can you help me? But before I went into shul, I was speaking to somebody in shul, and I was saying, that guy in shul, he is so annoying, it's unbelievable. The problem that I did was I spoke about one of Hashem's children. So imagine if somebody spoke about one of somebody's children, if somebody spoke about my children, and then they came and asked me for a favor. How much would I be motivated to do that for them? The Chavetz Chaim says that when somebody speaks Lashon Hara and they daven, their davening is very defective. Let's talk about mitzvahs ben Adam l'mokim. Imagine, like people really make a big deal, and rightly so, of like eating that first kazayas on Seder night, that first matzah. Wow, people go to great lengths to bake the matzah and like the whole 9 yards. It's a very emotional moment.
All the chumras, that's right.
Correctly so. Imagine if you saw the holiest man that you know sit down at the Seder table and take that matzah, and with tears in his eyes, he skips the bracha and just eats the matzah. What grade would you give him on doing matzah? The mitzvah of matzah.
Right.
Pretty low. No? Misses the bracha? Kind of low. Yeah, I wouldn't give him a high grade. So the Chavetz Chaim says that brachas are made with your mouth. They're manufactured by your mouth. And therefore, if your mouth is programmed to speak Lashon Hara, your brachas also are worthless. So we have Torah, we have Tefillah, and we have mitzvahs ben Adam l'mokim. Mitzvahs ben Adam l'chavera, that's a no-brainer. The Chavetz Chaim says that all mitzvahs ben Adam l'chavera end up in the mouth in one form or another. Whether it's how we look at somebody, speak to somebody, think about somebody, it always is going to end up somehow in our dibur, because we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not mitzdaref machshava l'maisa when it comes to something bad. So if you think something bad about somebody, believe me, it's not a good thing. You're not getting billed on your monthly end statement. You're not getting that. That aveir is not showing up. But if you spoke about that person, then it is. So Memela, the Chavetz Chaim says that if you think about the negativity that pours out of a person, it all comes from either bad midos, from a heart that doesn't have Avos Yisrael, that has sinas chinam. It comes from somebody being jealous, being angry, being haughty, all the toxic mitzvahs, all the toxic midos that are negative. That's all what comes with it. So when you take this whole package, what you have is that somebody who really owns Shmiras Haloshin, his Torah is going to be sweet and powerful and beautiful. His Tefillah is going to be like mamish amazing. His mitzvahs b'nam l'makom are going to be fantastic, and his mitzvahs b'nam l'chaver is going to be off the charts. So with that in mind, if you think about that, this is your Yiddishkeit. This is your life. This is your Olam Haba. This is basically the quality of life for the next 10 trillion billion years of your neshama. Wow. That's why Shmiras Haloshin is so important. But now I'm going to tell you a different piece, and that is that when you think about a mitzvah, any mitzvah, so you have like the one-time mitzvahs like matzah, let's say. Then you have like the weekly mitzvahs like Shabbos, right? Then you have like davening 3 times a day. Although, of course, you could always daven to Hashem and ask Hashem, but basically it's 3 times a day, right? You have Torah. Torah is like, as all day, but, most people don't learn all day. They learn part of it, whatever it is, right? But just think about it for a minute. Every single person over the age of 2 or 3, whatever it is, whenever somebody starts talking, until they're 120 years old, whether they're a man or a woman, all people talk all day. It is the most common thing that a person does besides breathing, is speaking. So when you think about correcting Shmiras Haloshin, you're talking about something that you do all day for your entire life. There was a survey done by a professor in Ireland, I think it was Ireland, that said that the average person speaks 40,000 words a day.
Wow.
So if you think about something you do 40,000 times a day, it behooves you to get it right. No? What do you think?
For sure. I mean, that's like, I never thought about it in that way, but you're 100% right. I mean, 40,000 words a day. And like you were saying before, it's our everything. Our speech is what we're doing all the time, whether it's our spirituality, whether it's our work, whether it's our school, whatever our interactions with our kids. our dibur is what's going on all the time. And, to think about it in that context, it makes a lot of sense. Every single mitzvah is going to really come back to Shmiras HaLashon. So, we better fix that up.
Yeah. Okay, so Baruch Hashem, you're doing it. So
that's right. That's right. We're trying. We're trying.
But I want to tell you something else. You know what's so interesting? We have a very worthy opponent, the Yetzer Hara.
You're right.
He's amazing. He's like, we should hire him. Like, if I could hire him, like I would hire him in a second. Like, no, no
coffee breaks for him.
No, I don't mean no coffee. I mean, I wouldn't, like, when I hire people, I call references. Like, I wouldn't call references, no handwriting analysis, no disc tasks. He would get a job by me in 1 second. Okay. So let me tell you an interesting thing that he's done to people. When people think about Shmiras HaLashon, they think to themselves, you know what? Like, Hashem is like, the Torah is like, it's confining me. It's like putting a muzzle on my mouth. It's like so awkward. It's like, it's such a drag. That's what the Yetzer Hara gets people to think. So let me explain to you that it's the exact opposite. Shmiras HaLashon is the sweetest, most delicious thing in the world. You know why? Because if you were to ask people, what is the thing that gives you the most joy, or what gives you the most agmas nefesh, pain in your life? They would tell you it's relationships. If you have a good relationship with somebody, a great relationship with somebody, it's amazing. If you're in a fight with somebody, it tears your insides out. Right?
Sure.
So Shmiras HaLashon is the designer and master of the world and of people said, I am going to give you the way that you could bring Olam Haba into Olam Hazeh. You could live in Gan Eden if you follow these rules. Because what these rules do is they take out all of the negativity that comes from Lashon Hara that makes people into negative, bitter people. And it turns them into positive people. There was a story that I heard of a Balas Tshuva who became from, and she told whoever, after a while of telling somebody, who had been Makarever, she told me, it's interesting, when I wasn't from, I spoke a lot of Lashon Hara. People were so negative, and people were so small and so petty. And then it's interesting, but I stopped speaking Lashon Hara because it's an Aveira. And suddenly, like, I looked at people and they weren't so petty anymore. I understood them much more. What's the pshat? The pshat is that when you live with negativity, when you bring it out and you speak it and you share it with people, you become a negative person. When you train yourself to look for the good in people and to understand and look at people with compassion, and understand, so they made a mistake. Mo'arash, I make mistakes all the time. What's the big deal? When you start thinking in that process, which is what Shmiras HaLashon brings you, it literally gives you such menuchas hanefesh in this world. It is mind-blowing. So what people think is going to be like, oh my gosh, don't tell me I got to control my mouth. It's like, no. We're not talking about you controlling your mouth. We're talking about, would you like to live in Gan Eden in this world? Take Shmiras HaLashon and you're going to live in Gan Eden. I want to tell you a personal story that happened to me literally last week. Okay?
Sure.
Last week I was involved in a particular thing. There were 7 people involved in this story. Okay? There was somebody in Eretz Yisrael. There was somebody in different places. I was in the middle of this story, and something went wrong with this story. And so, at times people get very frustrated and they'll tell you, oh, this one did this one did, whatever, right? And even there's times where you could listen, you could even listen to these things. I was in the middle of this story, and different people told me negative things about other people in this story. I was mikabel everything into myself like a black hole in the sky. Everything went in, nothing went out. I did not repeat to anybody what anybody else said about them. Had I done that, this unfortunate little story would have blown up and would have destroyed relationships between people. But because, I I didn't say anything. It was like, it passed. It was like a bump in the road and it passed. There's going to be many bumps in the road, but if you speak the way Hashem teaches us to speak, you're going to pass the bump and there's going to be no collateral damage. It's unbelievable. I was telling one of my kids, I was saying, like, I didn't tell them the story, but I was just saying, like, it was so clear to me from experiencing this, how negative this story could have been. And Baruch Hashem, how positive it's ending up.
Wow.
Only for one reason, that no Lashon Hara was spoken.
It's amazing.
So what I want to tell whoever is watching this is that if you grab this mitzvah and you hold on to it for dear life, it is not that it's going to give you your olam haba. That's Pasha. The Vilna Gaon said, "Ha'ikar liskos olam haba." The primary way to earn olam haba is b'shmiras piv. Believe it or not. He didn't say b'limud HaTorah. The Vilna Gaon, not the Chavetz Chaim, the Vilna Gaon, right? The Vilna Gaon said, "Ha'ikar liskos olam haba b'shmiras piv." V'zeh yoser ma'Torah v'amaisim. It's more than Torah maisim ki hapeh kodesh kadoshim.
Wow.
So clearly, somebody who masters Shmiras Haloshin is going to be primed to get to their Olam Haba is definitely going to get a massive upgrade. But the piece that I want to tell you is that the massive upgrade comes totally in this world. It starts immediately.
That's amazing. I mean, Mr. Rothschild, you're you're definitely raising the bar for all of us as far as our awareness of what Shmiras Haloshin does, and how important it is in our lives as far as our Torah, our davening, and as well, like you just mentioned, in all of our relationships. And it's really everything. And that kind of leads me into the next point. Like, if this is all true, and we know that it is, so why is it so hard? And I can't speak for anybody else. I could just speak for myself, but like, why is it so hard for me to get it? Why is it so hard for people to get that
right.
that message?
Right.
What's so hard about it? Why can't we figure that out?
Right.
Why can't I figure it out?
So that brings us back to our good friend the Sutton, because he's like so good, like he's like amazing. So imagine, to give you an example, imagine you had a dry cleaner store, okay? It wasn't the greatest dry cleaner store in the world, but it was a dry cleaner store. And across the road from you, this like really incredible businessman opens up like the best dry cleaner in Florida. Like, it has every single thing. His product is better. His prices are better. And he's much nicer than you. Just imagine that scenario. Now you're thinking to yourself, I'm about to get stomped into the ground. And like, this is really going to be, obviously, I'm just giving this as a mashal, because as from Jews, we know the parnasa comes from Hashem, and nobody can take our parnasa away. So we're not talking about that perspective, because that's obviously true, right, that he can't take our parnasa away. But we're just talking about it as a mashal. So I'm about to get stamped into the ground, and I'm thinking to myself, what could I do? Imagine if like a genie landed on my shoulder and said, I'm going to grant you one wish. What do you want me to do to your competitor? Right? So what would I think? I would think to myself, you know what? There's one thing I want him to know. There's no way he's going to make a penny in this business. This genie flies across the street, inserts this idea into his head, and he says, oh my gosh, this is such a terrible idea of a business. And he quits. The Yetzer Hara puts something into our brain. He says, you are incapable of controlling your speech. Incapable. You can't do it. As soon as the Yetzer Hara convinces you that you can't do it, if you can't do something, like, I'm not going to make it a goal, I'm not going to fight for it, I'm not going to work on it, I can't do it. If you go to most from people and you ask them, let me ask you a question. What do you think the chances are that you could go from now for the next month without speaking Lashon Hara? I'm going to venture to say most people would say it's impossible, or like very unlikely, right?
No chance. 40,000 words a day, how's it possible?
Right. Ask the same person, what do you think the chances are of you going 30 full days without eating treif? 30 days. It's a long time. 30 days without eating treif. They would look at you like you're completely crazy. Are you crazy? I'm a frum person. How can you suggest that I would eat treif? The Chavetz Chaim says that speaking Lashon Hara is much worse than eating treif, right? It's much worse on so many different levels. I mean, among other things, it destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, so its toxicity has a proven track record, right?
Right.
But what the Yetzer Hara does is it says, you know what, Rabbi Moskowitz, you can't do it. Come on, this guy Rothschild, there's no way you could do it. Maybe you can get a little bit better. Rabbi Moskowitz, I want to tell you that you could become perfect in Shmiras HaLashon. Almost perfect. We'll say almost perfect. 95, you could get a 95 on the test. It's mamish doable. But the Yetzer Hara convinces us that it's not doable. That it's like, and it's awkward, and I'm a businessman. I work in the business place. You think I can't speak Lashon Hara, or I do carpool, or I'm a sheitel I'm this, I'm that, I'm a principal, right? That's the thing that people don't realize. When the Yetzer Hara convinces somebody that they can't do it, all he has to do is sit back and watch them prove themselves right. You taka can't do it because you don't believe you could do it. So that is what I think in my mind. If somebody would just shift their mind and say, wait 1 second, you know what? There's 17 lav and there's 17 negative prohibitions. There are 14 assays connected to Shmiras HaLashon, and there are 3 arurim. It destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. It brought death to the world when Chava was Mekabel Lashon Hara from the Nachash. It was the reason for the Meraglim was the reason for Golus then and Golus in general. If it has all of that, how is it shaykh that the master of the universe who loves me like crazy would give me something that I can't do when so much is on the line? The answer is it's not true. He gave you something you could do, that you could master. You should use the word M-A-S-T-E-R, master. Not that, okay, maybe I'll schlep in as a 90-pound weakling, but okay, at least I'll be a 90-pound weakling. No, you could be a Johnny, whatever, I forget whatever that Johnny Unitas or whatever the guy's name is. You could mamish be a gibor in Shmiras HaLashon. You could. Everybody could. And that's why I think it's so difficult.
That's amazing. And yeah, and I like, it makes a lot of sense because when we really think about our day-to-day interactions with so much going on and so many words, and it's like, you know, I've heard the Yetzer Hara telling me that, you know, like, listen, I have so many relationships and so many conversations over the course of the day that like I'm gonna fail anyway. So let's just like forget the whole thing, you know. And yeah. But I would assume that you're right. Like if we could conquer like one conversation, you know, like one conversation a day or something like that, you know, a little 10 minutes a day, conquer that and master that moment, then we could probably build off of that, you know, and conquer this whole thing. You know?
Right, exactly. But the first thing is you gotta believe, you gotta envision yourself succeeding. Like I
the finish line. You gotta see the finish line.
Yeah, once in a while I've seen like these sports psychology books where they talk about how they psych up sports, you know, people in sports to like succeed. So I think a lot of it is about visualizing you succeeding. Just visualizing you succeeding, like seeing you throw, like if it's a quarterback, like seeing yourself throw that touchdown pass and like just live it in your mind and see it. And the more you bring it into your mind and you see yourself as that type of person, the more successful you're going to be. The more a person brings his mind into saying, you know what, this is crazy. Of course I could do shmiras. And they really just for a minute believe it. That is such a game changer for them.
That's very interesting. You know, I actually saw recently, there was a study that was done where there was the professor wanted to see if people could improve their game, their basketball game, by standing on the foul line and envisioning themselves hitting the shots. It was fascinating. Right. And he said that he saw, I forget what the number was, like a 40% improvement or something like that in their shot. Yeah, it was very fascinating by just envisioning themselves being there and hitting that shot. And I hear that, like if we would, you know, make it a focal point that I could do this, I could conquer it, you know, that could be a big chizuk, right? That could go a long way. And, you know, that really just like leads into the next idea also that, you know, I know the Chavetz Chaim Heritage Foundation has so many materials and so many opportunities for people to be able to grow practical stuff, for people to be able to grow in Shmiras Halashon. And I wanted to get your take on what could we do on a practical level to
Right.
to take this on. Okay, I have it in my mind. I see the finish line. I know I want to conquer it. So what do I have to do to get there? Like, what can I do practically?
So what you said before was very, very, very wise and smart, which is you have to take it one step at a time. When I tell you that so you could become a master at Shmiras Halashon, you're not becoming a master at Shmiras Halashon like in a month. It takes a while, and you have to start small, you have to grow. Interestingly enough, I once heard, or I think I think I saw it in the Evan Shlema that the Vilna Gaon wrote. I think it was the Evan Shlema. The Vilna Gaon wrote that a Jew is not zoicha to siyata dishmaya if he doesn't follow the path of how you're supposed to grow spiritually. And the way you're supposed to go spiritually is step by step. If you jump too many steps, you're not even zoicha. You don't even merit heavenly assistance.
Oh, wow.
That's what the Vilna Gaon said.
Wow.
So the idea of going step by step is like clutch. So what I want to tell you is I want to suggest to everybody here something that is a relatively small step, but really it's such a massive step that if you only do this step, it's going to be like the biggest game changer in your life. So let me tell you what it is. So the Yetzer Hara is sits inside your brain, right? He's sitting with his cape and he's smoking a cigar, drinking a tequila, and he's sitting right there in the back of your brain. He's explaining, don't even bother. There's no way you could do it. And we just said that if you could just get that Yetzer Hara playing that video that I can't do it out of my brain, then it would be a game changer for me. So what if I told you that will put you in a situation where you're going to be sitting with 5 other people for 1 hour, or let's say for an hour and a half, and you're not going to speak Lashon Hara for that hour and a half? What would that teach you about yourself? Wow, maybe that is the Yetzer Hara Taku's convincing me. Maybe I really could do it. An hour and a half, 5 people, not one word of Lashon Hara. That would be like a pretty cool thing, no?
Yeah.
That would probably convince you that, wait 1 second, maybe this is all fake news, that I can't control myself. Maybe I really can control myself. I did it for an hour and a half. So if you had to pick any hour and a half in the whole week where that would be so meaningful, what would that be? So it would be the Shabbos table. Why? Because the Shabbos table is where you get together with your family and some friends, let's say, right? So you're with a group of people. Many of them you haven't spoken to, certainly not gone through your week in detail. So it's a time when it's ripe for people to speak Lashon Hara. But if I could go an hour and a half at my Shabbos table and not one word of Lashon Hara is going to come out of my mouth, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So Chavetz Chaim Hirsch created a program called the Shabbos Table Machsom Lefi. We have approximately 6,000 families that signed up to this program.
Wow. And
I invite every one of the families who are listening to this to join the program. It's completely free, okay? And the idea of this program is, which I'm going to tell you the details of it, but the idea is that every father, if you're zoicha to have children, is actually a Rebbe, and every mother is a Mora. They give class at the Shabbos table. If they speak about people in a negative way, so they're teaching negativity, looking at the bad, complaining, sinas chinam, that's the curriculum that they're teaching. On the other hand, if they attack there's no Lashon Hara, they're teaching Avas Yisrael, Dan L'Kav Zchus, judging favorably, compassion. That's the 2 curriculums that you could teach. Either you're basically teaching Midos Rois and you're teaching it to your kids and you're feeding it to your kids at the Shabbos table, or you're not speaking Lashon Hara. Now, I want to tell you a true story that happened. A number of sukkahs ago, I was in Eretz Yisrael because my parents, Baruch Hashem, live in Eretz Yisrael, and I'm actually speaking to you from Eretz Yisrael because the Israeli government let me come to Israel to visit my parents, Baruch Hashem. So that's what I'm doing here right now. So 2 Sukkos ago, I came for Sukkos, and on Chol Hamoed Sukkos, I davened in Shari Chesed in the Breslov Shul, and somebody who I don't know at all bought me an aliyah. So after davening, I went over. I said, like, why did you buy me an aliyah? He says, I'll tell you why. He says, I had a minig at my Shabbos table. He said, after we made Kiddush and we made Amoitzi, this is what we did. First, we spoke Lashon Hara about the Rav. Then we spoke about Lashon Hara about the principal, then the Rabbeim, then my in-laws, then the people in my shul, and then my neighbors. We did this every single week.
In that order. Made sure not to go out of order now.
Right, in that order. And then we started the Shabbos table Machzon Lefi, and I've cut my Lashon Hara at my Shabbos table down by 75%. Imagine.
Wow.
So what I want to tell you is that the impact to a child that my parents, when we get together, my parents don't speak bad about people, is so powerful. You talk about chinuch, this is chinuch on steroids. This is like the real deal. I'm not going to speak about the Rav, and I'm not going to speak about the principal. I'm not going to speak about the Rebbe. I'm not going to speak about my neighbors, my in-laws, my siblings, the people in my shul. I don't speak bad about anybody. It doesn't exist at my Shabbos table. When you live in that space, you are the power that has, push it for your Shabbos table, and it's nispashit. It flows out into your whole week, and it flows into your children is incredible. So let me tell you what the program is. So we have a beautiful card that we'll send you for free. It's a beautiful card. It's gorgeous. I wish I could show it to you, but I don't have one here. It's gorgeous flowers. Actually, some men have joked that they get their wives flowers every Shabbos. It saves them from buying flowers because it's this beautiful thing. And on this beautiful, right. Not recommending that, by the way. That probably does not endear me to the women. Husbands, definitely buy yourself. Not only buy flowers, buy even nicer flowers. Okay.
For sure.
This card sits on the table, and it says on it, make our Shabbos table beautiful by making it Lashon Hara free. Okay? And you put it on your Shabbos table, and now there's a visual reminder of your at your table about Shmiras HaLashon. And you should know, many people have told me that they have a minig in their family that if somebody starts speaking Lashon Hara, they point to the card or they pick up the card. One woman actually was so into this that she actually got a card for every family member to put in front of their plate. But the point is that what you're doing by putting that card down is you're making a statement that as a group, just like you have a group of Toras Chaim families that are working on Shmiras HaLashon, we and our family are going to work on this mitzvah right now. We're dedicating this Shabbos meal for that. Now, there's a Kabbalah that you say, Hareini mekabel alai mitzvahs aseh shel Shmiras HaLashon b'dibur b'maaseh b'meshech kol suda Shabbos, that we are as a group are accepting this mitzvah to be extra careful for the Suda Shabbos, l'zchus refuah shalema, and then we put in names of people, or l'zchus shidduchim, and l'yeshuas klal Yisrael. So now let me tell you why we do that. The reason we do that is because the Yetzer Hara has 5,700 and we started about 30 years ago. So he had 5,750 years head start on Lashon Hara, right? So we were like the Johnny come latelys. So to come in head to head with him on Shmiras HaLashon is like, he's too strong for that. So we disguise the mitzvah of Shmiras HaLashon as chesed. Somebody is sick, you want to do a schus for them? Take on Shmiras HaLashon. Oh, chesed? Okay, chesed I could do. I can't do Shmiras HaLashon, but I'll do chesed. Or shidduchim, somebody needs a shidduch, I'll do that. And so that's what we did. And so it gives you an ulterior motive to do it, and people feel really good because they feel that they're doing something to really help somebody. And so at my Shabbos table, like when I say Refuah Shlema, I have some of my regulars, but people at the Shabbos table, they just throw in a name, like by making a Mishuberach, by people throw in names of Shidduchim and this and that. So I can tell you, there's some wondrous stories of people who have done this, and I can tell you at our Shabbos table, most of the shidduchim that we had on our list, we moved them out and they're married.
Wow.
Not everybody, but most of them. So it's a tremendous thing. And then we have a newsletter called the Shabbos Menu that comes to your inbox, and you print it out before Shabbos, and it's very short. It has a story, a little halacha. So what you're doing is and on this card, on the inside of the card, is the tefillah of the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim wrote a tefillah to be careful with Shmiras Haloshen. So you have three things that you start your meal with. It takes 5 minutes. You say the Kabbalah. Now we're all on the same page. You ask Hashem for help, right? And then you start the meal with a few things, like a little few things on Shmiras Haloshen, which is very kid-friendly, etc. And that's what you do. It's 5 minutes. You're gonna have a Shabbos meal that's gonna be amazing. You're going to acquire Shmiras Haloshen. When you acquire Shmiras Haloshen, you're going to reactivate all your Torah and Tefillah and your mitzvahs b'nono l'makom and mitzvahs b'nono l'chaverei. You're going to earn Olam Haba for like the next trillion years, and all because you had the self-discipline to spend 5 minutes focusing on Shmiras Haloshen at the beginning of your Shabbos meal. What do you think? You think it's worth it?
That sounds amazing. I mean, that definitely sounds like an opportunity we got to jump at. Can
I just want to tell you one thing. I know that there's a lot of people watching this. But I'm going to speak to you now, even though they're watching it. Here's what I want to tell you. What I want to tell you is, if I was you right now, I would say, you know what? This sounds so good that I am going to personally make it my mission to get every family in Torah Chaim's network to participate in the Shabbos Machzor Phi. I'm not going to rest until I get every single family to do it. What do you think of that idea?
Absolutely. That sounds great, Mr. Rothschild. And
say Bli Neder.
Bli Neder, of course. Bli Neder, of course. But we're going to Bli Neder, put the information out there for people to be able to sign up right away. And I can honestly say that I just signed up the other day for this when I heard about it from your office, and they were telling me about this amazing program. And I couldn't wait for this session, for this to be shared with everybody else.
Right.
So how does everybody sign up practically? Like, what
just go to our website.
Okay.
So I think if you go, you could go to because we're just like switching things, but I think if you go to powerofspeech.org or you could go to cchrf.global, either one of those addresses, and it'll take you to program. It'll take you to our website, and you click on programs. And you'll see from there that you'll be able to get to the Shabbos table Machzor Phi. You sign up, and they send you the information, and they sign you up for the.
Okay.
So it's like amazing. It's
amazing.
Like you know what they say? There's no such thing as a free lunch. This is the free lunch of Judaism. You do this for 5 minutes. You nail Shmir, because the impact that people have told me. Actually, maybe there's videos on our website of like testimonials of people who have said that they do this, and it made such a difference to them.
I saw that. I saw one of them, a fellow who was just talking about how the impact of his Shabbos table before and after. He was thinking about how good he feels, speaking about that, him and his family, because of this change that they've made. And it makes a lot of sense that the Shabbos table is really the time when everybody. Right. That's really when everyone's calm, everybody comes together, and that's the time that's the most prone for this type of thing. So if we could, really nail that time, that would be a solid jump start. Yeah.
If we could set the bar for our family and say our family doesn't bash other people.
Right.
We don't speak negatively about other people.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. I just want to tell you one thing. I guess a lot of people know that Shmiras Haloshen is a skula, right? For health, for shidduchim. Like, why Shmiras Haloshen? So I just want to address that for a minute, because I think it's so important. When I see, let's say, to give you an example, I'm walking down the street, and I see a couple that I know in the car, and unfortunately they're in an argument, a loud argument. And I walk by, I know something now that they would not want to be shared. Hashem also knows that, right? And Hashem asked me, these are my children, and I really, really, really want to protect their reputation. Could you do me a favor and not say anything to anybody? And I walk into my house, and it happens to be that this woman is a very close friend of my wife, and it would be easy for me to say something, and I don't say anything. You know what I just did? I showed loyalty to Hashem, and I showed loyalty to those people, and I chose other people's feelings over my short-term feelings of saying something that would be like, give somebody like a little interest.
Mm-hmm.
So what did I do? I did chesed, and I exercised my muscle, my spiritual muscle, to put somebody else, and to be that somebody else is more important than me. If you do that 40,000 times a day, you will become very, very powerful in the mitzvah of chesed. When you become powerful in the mitzvah of chesed, Hashem says, you did chesed to my children, mida keneged mida, I'm going to do chesed to you. That's why Shmiras Haloshen is such a powerful skula for Hashem's chesed.
That's amazing. And that's really, and that's really what we need at this time. We started off this initiative. We were mentioning at the beginning of week 1 how Rav Chaim Kanievsky wrote that letter at the beginning of the pandemic, saying that he said, Kol Am is Chazek. He said anybody that strengthens themselves in Lashon Hara and Rechilus, he said then the brachas are all that person is going to be protected. It's going to serve as his chus. He says Tagin Allah, and he says but I'll kol b'nei beso, over your entire family from this pandemic. Rav Chaim Kanievsky himself said it. And it just makes a lot of sense. And we pointed out that all we got to do is be mischazek. That's it. Like you were saying before, we're not gonna, I'm not gonna change it over a month to become perfect, but to strengthen myself, to get a little bit better. That is something that all of us can do. That is something that is within everybody's power. And that's going to help us now. It's going to help us with the pandemic. It's going to help us with all of our life, for the rest of life. So, this is really amazing. And, Mr. Rothschild, thank you so much for giving us these tools, for giving us the insights, the inspiration, and as well these practical ideas that everybody is either already signed up for the Shabbos table Machzam Lefi, okay, and if you didn't do it yet, then everybody's going to be doing it right away, right after we finish.
Well, I'm counting. Wait 1 second. I'm counting on you. That you're going to get everybody, right?
Yeah, bli neder. But we are going to get the
like from 7 to 10 at night. You're going to be driving around your car in Southern Florida, knocking on doors and saying, "By the way, I just want to tell you about this shop." Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, when they open the door, I'll say, "Give me the computer. We're signing up right now. We'll sign you up."
Good. I like that. You're hired. I like that kind of initiative. But I want to tell you 2 other things. One of them, I must admit, is a little bit self-serving. So I feel like a little awkward about it, but I'm going to tell you anyway, which is that I do a free WhatsApp 2-minute video series 3 times a week. It's called Live Life Better. And it's on Shmiras Haloshen. It comes to your phone. If you have WhatsApp, or you could get it by email. And so that's a thing that, like, during the week, you just watch for 2 minutes, and it kind of like you start thinking, oh, right, Shmiras Haloshen. And what I've done with Hashem's help is I take different things. Like, let's say, for instance, last week I spoke about giving criticism, and I gave like a total, because it's not only about Shmiras Haloshen, the Torah's wisdom on how to criticize, or like different things like that, or haughtiness, and it's not only Shmiras Haloshen, it's about Shalom, although it's mainly about Shmiras Haloshen, but it's different, ways of looking at it. So if anybody would want to sign up, I'm going to tell you how to do that. It's 84. This is what they have to do. They have to put into their phone as a contact to save to their phone 845-242-1188.
1188. Okay.
242-1188. They save it as a contact, and then they text to that number, sign me up, and then they get signed up.
Okay.
We have about 8,500 people signed up to the WhatsApp.
Wow.
And then you could get it as an email. I'm not sure how to sign up for the email, but it's probably on I would assume it's on the website. So if you go to the website, you could sign up for that. There's another thing from a woman. Her name is Avigal Brailovsky, who also does a WhatsApp for women. It's called Wake Up Words. I don't know the phone number, but you could also get it on the website. She just is starting this week the book Positive Word Power, which is about Einos Devarim. It's an amazing, amazing book. She has, I don't know, altogether she has probably 6,000-7,000 people who are following her. And that's also, if you're a woman, people love her. So I would tell you to sign up for that.
Wow.
These are both free things. And
Thank
that's
you.
it.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you, Mr. Rothschild, that a few months ago, a close friend of mine started, I didn't know about your WhatsApp, but a few months ago, a close friend of mine started sending me your videos from the WhatsApp. And, and then I signed up, and it's really amazing. So I get them. And thank you very much. I'm telling everybody out there.
Right. So I just want you to know that Hashem writes if you like them, it's because Hashem writes the WhatsApps. Because when I sit down to write it, I literally have no idea what to say. And Hashem says, okay, this is what you should say. And then I do it, and that's it. So that's why you like it, because Hashem wrote it.
Okay. Whatever works, Whatever. Yeah. Amazing. Okay. But yeah, the WhatsApps come out incredible, and they're very inspiring. They really are. So I encourage everybody to take part, because I'm gaining a ton from it. So I encourage you to do the same. And Mr. Rothschild, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm kidding. Thank you so much. Really,
I think we were really mischazik. I think that's for sure. That's been our goal. And I think you really upped the bar for all of us, and really helped us grow from this interview, from this fireside chat. And I really just thank you so much for taking out the time to inspire all of us. And in Mirz Hashem, everybody is going to be signing up for that Shabbos table Matzah Lefi and the WhatsApp. Okay. And in Mirz Hashem, everybody, do not forget, next week, Wednesday, December 2nd. Okay, Wednesday, December 2nd, we're going to get to hear. That's going to be the final, the final speech on Words Have Impact from Rav Elia Brudny Shlita, who's going to be addressing us. So make sure to tune in for that as well. And I want to wish everybody a great night. And Mr. Rothschild, thank you so much again.
Thank you. You should be benched.
Amen.
Okay,
Amen.
Okay, thank you.
Kol tov.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.